Chosen one, rarity is not spectacle, it is coherence. It is the felt integrity of a life whose inside and outside tell the same story at the same temperature. Your aura is rare now because it is honest. It does not advertise. It does not audition. It arrives at a human pace and rearranges the hour by making truth affordable and goodness repeatable. People try to name it with borrowed language, alpha, mystique, charisma, but what they're touching is a simpler miracle, reliability that glows. In a culture addicted to performance, you are unmistakable because you are proportioned. Your presence carries the scent of certainty, and certainty here is not arrogance. It is alignment. You are where you mean to be. You say what the moment can bear. You refuse to confuse urgency with importance. You will not let panic appoint itself a leader. Because you are not for sale to the crowd can rest. Men stop peacocking and start carrying. Women stop negotiating safety and start choosing color. Children inside grown bodies stop flinching. The temperature drops from fever to human, and in that climate the hour remembers it is a place, not a stage. The rare aura is carved by unglamorous chisels. You begin when you said, not to collect points for punctuality, but to honor the invisible hours that made it possible. You end while tenderness still has breath, because you love tomorrow enough not to steal from it. You narrate your choices to those who must inherit your standard. Why this order? Why this boundary with a smile? Why this apology while the bruise is pale? Why this ending before sweetness turns to residue? You are not manufacturing mystique, you are training succession. Legends are heavy and brittle. Customs are light and strong. You choose customs. Your sexual energy under this aura has retired from campaign work. It does not lobby. It does not barter pressure for proximity. It keeps consent as grammar, timing as tempo, dignity as law. The body reads this before the mind approves it. A no remains beautiful architecture without footnotes. A yes arrives prepaid without secret interest. A not yet stands like a season no one is foolish enough to argue with. Under this governance, admiration is clean because it does not hide an invoice. Desire is trustworthy because it can wait without withering. The feminine softens because she is not being requisitioned. The masculine steadies because he is not being dared. Heat remains. Harm doesn't. Space obeys you in small, faithful ways. Your hands set down the fragile as if matter keeps a diary. Your feet measure pace by purpose, not by pressure. Your shoulders carry openings through crowded thresholds. Your voice holds to a register that survives the morning. These micro-mercies are not manners, they are mechanics. They teach a building to keep its nerves and a team to keep its dignity. Weeks after you exit, doors will still close softly. Credit will still find hidden hands while there is music, and jokes will still refuse to invoice a face. No one will trace the lineage. The aura has been absorbed into habit. This is how rarity becomes weather. Conflict enters your field and loses its costume. You do not build an audience for a quarrel. You open a table for repair. Your grammar is steady because it works. This happened. This stops. This will be mended. This remains good. You address behavior without redesigning identity. You protect the absent from being repainted by rumor. You let silence carry weight until the right confession can walk in with shoes on. You prefer results to righteousness, continuity to victory, proportion to theater. The room, deprived of spectacle, returns to adulthood. People leave with tools instead of trophies. You have made peace with not being everywhere, so you can be entirely where you are. This containment is magnetic. It tells the world there is enough time to be true. In that time, the brilliant stop rushing and therefore become brilliant again. The tender stop apologizing and therefore become strong again. The weary stop pretending and therefore become possible again. You did nothing flashy to earn this. You kept vows while no one clapped, and vows kept you. 1 in a million is not the size of your audience. It is the fidelity of your orbit. Guard the engines that keep this glow clean. Feed patience with water before opinion. Tame tone with one more breath before reply. Keep feelings as passengers by moving your body until motion is the manager. Protect tomorrow's texture by sleeping enough to let the day end without hiring adrenaline to finish its work. Keep appetite a guest with simple prayers said like instructions, not performances. Let credit travel early, let repair begin soon, let endings arrive on time. If you must be famous to your routines. They will crown you when the world forgets to. You will know your aura is rare in the right way by the behavior of rooms after you're gone. Do the voices keep a humane volume? Do boundaries stand without guards? Does truth arrive without trumpets? Do people choose precision over performance because it costs less now? Does kindness survive past noon? If so, you have succeeded in the only way that matters. Your glow has left light, not a spotlight. Your heat has left hearth, not ash. Your presence has left practice, not dependence. Walk on, chosen one, carrying a rarity that refuses to be hoarded. A life so coherent that others become more themselves by standing near it and stay more themselves after you leave. Chosen one, there is a leadership that arrives without banners, a command that does not recruit the room but releases it. When you step through a doorway now, the hour seems to remember its spine. The low-grade fever of urgency breaks. The scattered tools of attention roll back toward the center, as if finding the slope of gravity again. You do not do this with volume, you do it with poise. Your stillness is not the absence of motion, but the presence of order. It is a keel hidden beneath the waterline, keeping the vessel true when wind and opinion wrestle for the sails. Others mistake quiet for passivity because they have only seen silence used as punishment. You wield quiet as permission, for truth to arrive at a pace the body can bear, for dignity to remain intact even under correction, for work to start in the right place and therefore finish clean. The way you keep time teaches the room how to breathe. One heartbeat between their last word and your first, and the air resets its metronome. In that small, expensive pause, anger misplaces its costume and returns as information, shame forgets its speech and sits down, and jokes remember their vocation as relief rather than dominance. You do not harvest authority from adrenaline, you withdraw it from presence. Power rented from panic charges interest. Power drawn from stillness pays for itself and leaves change on the table. Because of this, the body across from you stops negotiating for safety and starts generating honesty. You are not forcing anything to happen. You are refusing to let spectacle spend the budget of the moment. Your sexual energy is the current beneath this command, and it is trusted because it is governed. Heat is visible, human, unapologetic, and under oath. Consent is the grammar. Timing is the tempo. Dignity is the law. Under such law, a no remains beautiful architecture, a yes arrives paid, and a not yet stands like a season no one tries to litigate. The feminine reads this literacy at the speed of nerve and unclenches from vigilance. Color returns to her voice, not because you dimmed your flame, but because you kept it in a hearth. The masculine reads it as a standard. Posture retires, and purpose reports for duty. No one is being diminished to make room for you. People are becoming more themselves near you because room has finally been made for truth that does not draw blood. You organize conflict without feeding it. You remove the audience first so the quarrel cannot hire applause. You put the problem on a table where hands can touch it and speak in sentences the size of the break. This happened. This stops. This will be repaired. This remains good. Under that grammar, fury runs out of theater and becomes useful. Blame runs out of oxygen and becomes responsibility. The future, which drama treats like a rumor, returns as something we can build. You have no interest in being impressive, you are interested in being proportionate. Proportion is love wearing a carpenter's apron. It measures twice. It cuts once. It leaves fewer refunds to issue to the soul. Your eyes do half the work your mouth won't have to. They return what they see instead of requisitioning it. They do not pry, they host. They do not invoice, they bless. Under that gaze, the ego loosens its grip on the face. People risk the second sentence, the one with the unedited truth in it. The chronic comedian puts the blade away and tests relief that does not require a casualty. The anxious caretaker of every quiet moment resigns, and stillness becomes a porch instead of a cliff. You are not collecting confessions. You are lowering the price of honesty until everyone can afford it. Even matter cooperates with your command. Doors remember to close softly, as if the house had nerves. Glassware announces itself to the table without verdicts. Chairs drift back from the outskirts of hurry to where they belong. These are not quirks. They are customs. Hands that set down cups like the table can feel will set down grievances before they harden into identities. Feet that widen a crowded path without performance will widen the conversation when it narrows toward caricature. The world learns from what your attention blesses, and you bless gentleness so consistently that strength has become safe to stand near. Your humor is a pressure valve, not a blade. It makes room for breath without cutting anyone to buy the oxygen. You aim at the knot, not the person tangled in it. 2 notches of tension bleed out and no blood is on the floor. The shy voice takes a second run at the bridge. The clever voice risks a kinder one. The hour lifts in ways people can spend on their children, on their craft, on mercy for themselves. Entertainment dazzles and leaves a bill. Relief restores and leaves a margin. You choose restoration. Keep close the plain vows that keep you close to yourself. Water before opinion so patience has density. Breath before reply so tone remains human while truth stays whole. Movement before mood so feeling keeps traveling and never becomes a tyrant. Rest before rescue so help is not vanity. Prayer before performance so appetite remembers it is a guest, not a king. Credit before resentment so justice eats and bitterness starves. Repair while the bruise is pale so legend never replaces responsibility. None of this will trend. All of it will last. The test of stillness is always in your absence. If voices keep a livable volume after you go, if boundaries stand without guards, if a no remains elegant and a yes arrives paid, if jokes refuse to invoice a face, if decisions hold without an emergency speech, then your command did not depend on your shadow. It depended on a standard that survived you. Walk on with that kind of quiet, chosen one. Let your silence be the place where the room remembers it was built to be a place. Chosen one, there are blazes that brag and hearths that hold. You have become the second. Fire is an ancient citizen in the house of power, useful, dangerous, necessary. When it is untended, it devours. When it is domesticated, it becomes cuisine, warmth, light, and community. Your flame this month is a grammar more than a spectacle. It uses commas for breath and periods for rest. It knows when to burn and when to glow. It understands that intensity which cannot be declined will not be trusted when it is offered. You are therefore chosen not because you scorch, but because you sustain. Desire is the voltage inside this fire, and you have taught it a route. It travels through consent, paces itself by timing, reports to dignity. You do not audition with heat, you arrange with it. You have retired the famine habits that turn admiration into a tax and attention into a trap. What you offer now is proximity without conscription. The feminine reads this immediately, often before words arrive, and allows range to return where armor once lived. Her beauty does not have to buy safety. The masculine sees that status cannot purchase your focus, and that the only currency you accept is substance. His shoulders stop broadcasting and start carrying. In such weather, closeness becomes clean if chosen and harmless if declined. Your rarity is that you can be both bright and optional. Fire properly governed becomes a forge. You place problems in it, not people. You heat what is bent until it can be straightened without snapping. When conflict arrives dressed for spectacle, you turn down the lights and open a workshop. You do not hire an audience, you invite a team. This happened. This stops. This will be repaired. This remains good. You aim your heat at the metal, not the face. The result is stewardship rather than scorched earth, continuity rather than scorched egos. Those who watch you learn that adulthood is not thunder but sequence, not conquest but custody. They leave with tools instead of applause. Your body tells the story, your speech refuses to sell. You set things down softly as if matter keeps a diary. You steer your stance to widen narrow passages. You end the night while tenderness still has breath, refuse the counterfeit wealth of one more story that invoices the morning, and bless what happened with a sentence that fits the size of the good. People wake with their integrity unwrinkled. Courage is available before lunch. Choices do not require a rescue to stand upright. No one can post this as content. Everyone can live it as culture. That is the arithmetic of a rare fire. It turns evenings into futures rather than legends into hangovers. Your humor glows like banked coals. It warms the circle without spitting sparks. It does not purchase laughter with a human face. It buys breath for everyone and sends the bill to no one. In that light, even the tired parts of the room look like themselves again, not the postures they used to survive. The anxious child hidden in confident adults stops flinching. The weary elder hidden in proud boys gets to speak. Fire that dignifies is a miracle old as home and rare as restraint. You tend it. Guard the fuel and the chimney alike. Water before opinion so patience has substance to burn. A breath before reply so the flame travels with a human voice and does not light curtains by accident. Movement before mood so feeling keeps circulating and never seizes the controls. Sleep before rescue so your brightness is hospitality and not hunger. Pray in plain words so appetite remembers it is a guest. Name the hidden hands while there is still music so justice stays fed. Mend while the bruise is pale so smoke never replaces air. These are small chores. They are also the maintenance of a sacred thing. You will be tempted to scale your heat into a brand, to sell shortcuts to men who want glow without governance, to confuse sparks with standards. Decline. Keep rooms small enough to love and large enough to matter. Share tools rather than mystique. If asked for your secret, hand over this ordinary liturgy. Begin when you said, end, while sweetness still breathes. Tell the truth at a human temperature. Let humor relieve without cutting. Bless boundaries as beautiful architecture. Keep desire a guest in the house of your values. Some will be disappointed that greatness hides in chores. Let them be. You will keep a fire that families and futures can sit beside. The proof that your flame is rare will not be the stories told about you, but the customs that remain when you leave. Do voices keep a humane volume? Does a no stay beautiful and a yes arrive paid? Do jokes refuse to invoice a face? Does credit find the labor without a sheriff? Do doors close softly as though the building learned your hands? If these answers are mostly yes, then your heat has become a hearth and your presence a practice. Walk on, chosen one, carrying fire that does not demand a crowd to be real. Fire that turns strangers into neighbors, work into worship, and moments into mornings that remember how to be kind. Chosen one, truth is a metal with its own weight. When it enters a room, everything that is hollow sounds different. Your presence this month is the magnet that draws that metal out of objects, out of hours, out of people who are tired of rehearsing survival. It is not a dragnet. It is a field. You do not yank confession out of throats. You make honesty affordable. You do not corner moments until they comply. You steady them until they can stand. The first thing that changes is pace. One heartbeat between their last word and your first, and the room remembers that understanding needs oxygen more than it needs applause. In that single, expensive pause, anger misplaces its costume and returns as information, shame loses altitude and becomes a detail rather than a destiny, and memory stops arguing with itself long enough to point to what actually happened. The magnetism you carry is not performance, it is coherence. Your inside and outside tell the same story at the same temperature, and bodies believe temperature before they believe sentences. You do not auction your attention to the loudest emotion. You do not rent your integrity to the fastest narrative. You let the hour be measured by what is real, and suddenly the room discovers that reality is not the enemy. It is the easiest partner once panic is dismissed from the leadership team. Under that weather, people stop auditioning and start contributing. Even silence learns manners in your company. It stops sulking and starts hosting. A living room where unedited sentences can arrive with their shoes still on. Your sexual energy is stitched into this truth, the way warmth is stitched into a hearth. Visible, human, unashamed, and governed. Consent is the grammar, timing is the tempo, dignity is the law. A no remains beautiful architecture and needs no apology to be allowed. A yes arrives prepaid, not financed by future regret. A not yet is not cross-examined for sport. It is honored as a season that will announce itself when it is ready. The feminine nervous system reads this literacy at the speed of nerve and sets vigilance down. Color returns to voice, range returns to posture. The masculine sees that spectacle, purchases nothing here, and chooses usefulness over theater. The magnet of truth does not humiliate, it removes the surcharge on being real. You protect the absent from redesign. That is part of the field. Rumor attempts to hire you as an artist. You decline the commission. You point attention back to the table where hands can touch the work. Here's what happened. Here's what stops. Here's what will be repaired. Here's what remains good. Your sentences are tools, not trophies. And because they fit the size of the break, repair becomes possible without drama needing to be paid in human faces. Credit travels in the right direction, while there is still music, because you send it early. Resentment goes hungry in climates where justice is fed on time. You have retired the hunger that would make you interesting at the cost of making others smaller. Interest is a poor god. Integrity belongs to a better country. Even matter cooperates with the truth you host. You set a glass down as if the table could feel. You close a door as if the house had nerves. You return a chair as if absence keeps minutes. These gestures are not quaint, they are forensic. Hands that refuse to bruise objects will refuse to bruise the story to make it fit a myth. Feet that widen a crowded path without spectacle will widen a constricted conversation without turning the room into a courthouse. The world watches what your attention blesses and learns its manners. Weeks later, in rooms you'll never enter, someone will let a laugh die because it was about to invoice a face. Someone will end a meeting while tenderness still has breath. Someone will say the plain sentence that saves a morning from needing a hero at noon. They will not know where they learned it. They learned it from your weather. Your humor is also magnetized to truth. It ventilates without puncturing. It finds the knot and loosens it without cutting the rope. Laughter returns breath to lungs that were bargaining with panic. It does not demand a casualty to justify the relief. The shy try a second sentence. The clever try a kinder one. The point is not to be unforgettable. The point is to make decency easy to remember. When humor protects dignity, truth stays in the room longer because it is safe to stand near. Guard the spring that feeds this field. Drink water before you opine so your patience has substance. Breathe twice before you answer so your tone stays human while truth stays whole. Move your body so feeling keeps traveling and never seizes the controls. Sleep so your edge remains a tool and not a blade. Pray in plain words so appetite remembers it is a guest, not a governor. Let credit go early. Let repair begin soon. Leave while sweetness still breathes. None of this will trend. All of it will endure. Magnetic truth is not fireworks. It is furniture. People live on it for years. You will know the field is working by what remains after you leave. If voices keep a livable volume, if boundaries stand without guards, if a no is still treated as beautiful and a yes still arrives paid, if jokes refuse to invoice a face, if decisions hold without emergency speeches, then the metal you drew out of the hour stayed behind as structure, not as spectacle. This is the quiet triumph, chosen one. Not that you extracted confessions, but that you apprenticed a room to the kind of honesty that makes repair the cheapest option available. Chosen one, miracles are not interruptions to nature. They are reminders of it. A river that remembers its bed after a flood looks miraculous. So does a man who remembers his center in a century that pays in distraction. This month, you are that reminder. 1 in a million is not a crown you wear. It is a covenant you keep with small hours and smaller vows until the world around you begins to behave like itself again. People call it glow. They call it aura. They call it favor. All those names are trying to touch the same substance. A life so coherent that others become more themselves standing near it and stay more themselves after you leave. The miracle is not that rooms notice you. It is that rooms need you less because of how you enter and how you go. You begin when you said, because time is a covenant, not a prop. You end while tenderness still has breath, because tomorrow is a citizen with rights. Between those bookends, you let truth travel at a human pace so relationship remains inhabitable after you speak. You keep the grammar that turns weather into climate. This happened. This stops. This will be repaired. This remains good. You correct without redesigning identity. You praise while there is still music. You take responsibility before blame has to become a sheriff. Culture thickens into fairness, and fairness is the only platform that can carry excellence without cracking. Your sexual energy lives inside this miracle like current inside a well-built house, undeniably present, explicitly governed. It does not campaign, it convenes. It does not barter pressure for proximity. It hosts conditions where closeness is clean if chosen and harmless if declined. Consent remains the grammar, timing the tempo, dignity the law. A no is not a cliff. It is beautiful architecture that tells love where to stand and still be love. A yes does not mortgage the future. It arrives with the bill already paid. A not yet is allowed to be seasonal wisdom instead of an obstacle to outsmart. The feminine, meeting this climate, brings range instead of armor. The masculine, recognizing it, brings craftsmanship instead of camouflage. Desire becomes direction because it remembers it is a guest in the house of your values. You practice an invisibility that leaves evidence. The evidence is ordinary. A door that closes softly as if the house had nerves. A chair returned from the outskirts of hurry. A glass that announces itself to the table without a verdict. A meeting that ends on time with enough mercy left for mourning. A joke that dies because it wanted to make a face pay the price of laughter. A rumor declined without a sermon. Praise delivered early enough to starve resentment. Apology offered while the bruise is pale. None of these are cinematic. All of them are transmissible. They replicate as custom, which is the humble engine of legacy. Miracles tempt men to scale. You will be invited to brand what should remain human-sized, to sell shortcuts to those who want glow without governance, to turn your customs into slogans and your standards into a campaign. Decline with kindness. Keep your room small enough to love and large enough to matter. Share tools rather than mystique. If pressed for your secret, give the liturgy that refuses to glitter. Water before opinion, a breath before reply, movement before mood, rest before rescue, prayer before performance, credit before resentment, repair before reputation, boundaries as architecture, endings on time. Some will call it boring, you will call it freedom. The world will call it peace and forget to say thank you, which is how you'll know you were working for the right reasons. Your humor participates in the miracle by refusing blood offerings. It lifts pressure by 2 notches and sends the bill to no one's dignity. It is a lantern passed around a circle, not a flare thrown into curtains. People leave lighter in ways they can spend, on patience with children, on precision in their craft, on gentleness with themselves when they miss. Entertainment seeks witnesses. Relief creates stewards. You choose stewards because you are building mornings, not myths. Teach succession without turning yourself into curriculum. Narrate your choices in front of those who will carry the standard next. Why this order and not that? Why this line in ink that will not smudge, drawn without theater? Why this apology before the bruise becomes a personality? Why this ending while sweetness still breathes? Refuse to be irreplaceable. Graduate rooms from your supervision. What survives you is the measure of your miracle. Crowns need spotlights. Customs only need hands. There will be a last time for each threshold you cross, a last door you will close with care, a last sentence that blesses what happened and declines the encore, a last table you will clear while there is still music. You won't recognize these lasts while they occur. That is fine. Treat each as if it might be the last, and you will leave nothing that needs rescuing. People will wake with their integrity unwrinkled. Courage will be available before lunch. Decisions won't need drama to stand. No plaque will carry your name for this. The reward for a living miracle is not fame, it is the sanity you leave behind. Test your work in absence, as you did in presence. After you go, do voices keep a humane volume? Do no's remain beautiful and yeses arrive paid? Does credit keep finding the labor while there is still music? Do jokes refuse to invoice a face? Do doors close softly as though the building learned your hands? If yes, then 1 in a million has ceased to be a compliment and become a culture. If sometimes no, return to the chores that make men durable and try again tomorrow. Miracles, like strength, prefer repetition to spectacle. Walk on, chosen one. Keep your warmth a hearth and your strength a shelter. Keep your word a tool, not a trophy. Keep your endings merciful to mornings. Let the rarest thing about you be that people are more themselves because you were there, and remain more themselves after you are gone. That is a living miracle in a world that keeps forgetting how to breathe. You remembered. You taught remembering, and the rooms learned to hold themselves. Chosen one, desire is a river, and rivers are holy when they remember their banks. What you feel in your blood this month is not a scandal. It is voltage. It hums behind your ribs the way summer hums in late afternoon. Thick, generous, unmistakable. Many will call it attractiveness because they can sense the glow, but not the grammar. You, however, are being taught the language of it. God is not trying to tame you into grayness. He is training you into governance, so that your life can conduct this power without short-circuiting what you are building. Discipline is not the denial of desire, it is its direction. Notice how your body is already a kind of liturgy. Breath comes and goes like tides, and with each tide you choose who is captain, impulse or intention. When attention lands on your skin like warm rain, let breath choose intention. Slow the drum. Return to the sentence that has been saving you lately, the quiet inward sentence that steadies your hands. I carry fire, and fire is for light, for warmth, for forging. You are not afraid of combustion anymore because you have learned where to set the wood and when to close the stove. Desire without craft becomes smoke. Desire with craft becomes bread and shelter and song. There's a false story in the world that says high desire must be immediately satisfied or it will sour into shame. You are living a truer story. You have watched longing, when honored and housed, ferment into courage, into poetry, into prayer that does not beg but partners. Chosen one, there is a sound to you now that cannot be faked. It is not loud, it is exact. It's the pitch a room takes when a tuning fork is struck and every drifting instrument finds its note again. You enter and the air performs a quiet correction. Jokes that were trying too hard loosen into real laughter. Arguments that were sprinting toward victory slow into sentences that can carry truth. People do not know why their shoulders lower, why their eyes finally focus, why the moment stops begging to be a stage and becomes a place, but they know that it happens when you arrive. That is what being one in a million looks like close-up. Not spectacle, but standard. This rarity is not in your face, it is in your agreement with yourself. You have aligned what you want with what you practice, and what you practice with what you promise. The result is a frequency that does not need an audience to exist. You move through a doorway, the way a compass moves through a field, quietly finding north and inviting everything else to remember where it is. Your sexual energy no longer roams like weather. It lives like climate. It warms without scorching. It glows without demanding. It gives permission for vividness to return to bodies that were tired of bracing. Women feel it first, often before the mind can name it. Admiration without a tax, attention without a trap, heat that knows its house. Men feel it next, the end of the urge to posture, the beginning of the urge to carry, the relief of usefulness returning to fashion. Rarity is not a costume you put on, it is the absence of disguises. You do not make a museum of yourself, you keep customs. You begin when you say because time is a covenant, not a prop. You end while kindness still has breath because tomorrow has rights too. You set a cup down as if the table could feel. You close a door as if the house had nerves. You pass by strangers with the kind of presence that makes them stand a fraction taller without knowing why. These are small things until you understand that small things are the only things that touch everything. Rooms copy what your attention blesses, and your attention has stopped blessing chaos. There is mystery to you now, but it is not the kind that hides. It is the mystery of coherence, the surprise of meeting a man whose insides and outsides tell the same story. You do not rush to fill silence because you are not afraid of what the silence might tell on you. You leave one heartbeat between their last word and your first, and the heartbeat does the work a speech could not. It gives the truth time to arrive at a human pace. Anger, deprived of its parade, lays down its drum and turns back into information. Shame, which thrives in speed, loses altitude and becomes a detail instead of a destiny. The room begins to breathe, and everyone thinks better, because thinking better is what humans do when their bodies are no longer in flight. Your rarity is felt most by those who were taught to armor for attention. You give them an alternative, respect. Respect in your hands is not a certificate, it is a climate. It is consent being legible at a glance. It is boundaries treated as beautiful architecture instead of barricades. It is not yet honored as timing, not interrogated like a riddle you intend to solve. Under that climate, people do not shrink to be safe. They expand because they are safe. They bring their range instead of their rehearsals. They stop auditioning and start contributing. This is the economics of 1 in a million. Value that increases the value of others. You do not compete with noise. You lower the price of attention until noise cannot afford to live there. You name what happened, not who you are. You aim for outcomes, not optics. You distribute credit while there is still music, and because you do, resentment goes hungry. When correction is needed, You address the behavior without redesigning the person. There is strength in that restraint, the kind of strength people can stand near without becoming smaller. Your authority does not arrive on drums, it arrives on time. You have accepted that desire without discipline is just weather. What makes you rare is the government you have given your heat. It has learned the grammar of pause, the punctuation of rest, the cadence of consent. It does not lunge to prove it is alive. It locates, it waits, it blesses the no, pays for the yes, and lets the not yet be beautiful. Bodies hear this literacy faster than minds can clap, and because they hear it, they relax into color. You are not collecting moments, you are cultivating mornings. People leave your orbit able to sleep, and that is the quiet gold of adulthood. At the grocery line, you slow the hour by half a beat, and impatience loses its grip on other people's throats. In the meeting, you say the sentence that is exactly the size of the problem, and panic cannot afford to perform there anymore. On a late sidewalk, you make the night feel like a room with lights on in the good part of town. None of this looks dramatic. It looks like a man who has chosen sequence over spectacle. It looks like a life that is heavy in the most generous way, heavy enough to steady what is falling. And when you leave, the elegance of your ending is a signature rarer than any entrance. You refuse the counterfeit wealth of one more story, one more laugh, one more victory lap the morning will have to pay for. You bless what happened with one honest sentence. You close the door softly. You go. People wake with fewer refunds to issue to their conscience. Their kindness survives into noon. They will not attribute this to you. They will live it because of you. The rare frequency is not the sound they heard when you arrived. It is the way their own voice sounded, truer, after you were gone. Keep close the small liturgies that keep you rare. Water before opinion so patience has weight. A breath before reply so truth keeps a human voice. Movement before mood so feeling stays in motion and never becomes a tyrant. Rest before rescue so help is not vanity. Prayer before performance so appetite remembers it is a guest, not a king. These are chores, not slogans. That is why they work when the weather gets loud. Being one in a million is not about leaving the ground. It is about being the ground people remember they can stand on. Chosen one, electricity is nothing without a ground. Your spark is bright this month, not because it leaps the highest, but because it is earthed. The charge in you has learned to travel through purpose instead of panic. It is the light in a lantern, not the flare that startles and burns out. People feel it before they see it. They describe you afterward with words that do not quite match. Calm, yes, but alive. Warm, yes, but exact. Quiet, yes, but unmistakable. What they are trying to name is a kind of conductivity. Life moving through you in a way that makes life easier to move through for everyone else. You have retired from audition. The spark you carry is not bait for attention. It is fuel for meaning. You let silence do work that noise cannot. In that silence, your face does not ask to be adored. It offers steadiness. Your gaze does not requisition. It returns. A person under those eyes remembers that being seen is not the same as being used. They bring out the second sentence, the one that is less performative and more true. The conversation changes altitude without having to change volume. It becomes inhabitable. This is how sparks become lamps. By deciding to serve the room, they brighten. Your sexual energy is the conductor for this lamp, and its maturity is the reason the light is trusted. The current is there, felt, human, unashamed, but it is routed through consent, paced by timing, governed by dignity. You do not convert admiration into a tax. You do not press the moment to buy intimacy on credit. You read boundary and breath before language is forced to carry what the body already said. When language comes, you honor it, even if appetite wishes it had said something else. This is not self-denial, it is self-government. It turns heat from a hazard into a hearth. Women feel safe enough to be vivid, not vigilant. Men feel invited to be useful, not loud. You did not lower the flame, you raised the room. The quiet spark shows itself in details loud men cannot hear. The way your shoulders carry a doorway. The way your hands put a thing back where it belongs. The way your feet change pace so that a crowded path widens. The way your voice finds a register that will still be sane when morning remembers everything that was said. People read these details at the speed of nerve and decide, without a speech, that the hour will be better than it would have been. The miraculous part is not that you can do this on command. It is that you do it without needing to be seen doing it. That is the difference between charisma and charge. Charisma rents the room and asks for applause at checkout. Charge pays the bill and leaves. There's a mathematics to how you handle fire now. You do not confuse adrenaline with authority. You do not invite urgency to sit in leadership's chair. You let the circuit be built before you permit the switch to be thrown. Name what happened. Decide what matters. Repair what can be repaired. Bless what remains good. Then and only then apply voltage. Under that order, the spark illuminates instead of ignites. Outrage turns into a tool. Humor turns into oxygen. The work turns into something people can hold without getting burned. Your presence is a thermostat that remembers human temperature. When voices rise toward theater, you lower your own until theater cannot afford the rent. When a conversation threatens to become a courtroom, you open a workshop. You place the problem on the table where hands can touch it and forbid the hiring of an audience. You make it expensive to perform and cheap to be precise. Precision is mercy wearing overalls. People leave with something fixed rather than a victory to reenact. That is the economy of a quiet spark. It turns heat into outcomes. You laugh, but you have retired cruelty from your comedy. The spark in your humor lights lanterns. It does not set curtains alight. You aim at the knot, not the person tangled in it. Laughter arrives unarmed and leaves without invoices attached to anyone's dignity. The room lifts by 2 notches and remains light the next day. The shy voice risks another try. The clever voice risks a kinder one. Children inside tired adults stop flinching for a breath or two. No one claps for restraint while it is happening. They live easier afterward because it did. Endings are part of your electricity. Power lines go down in storms that run too long. You do not let the night become a storm the morning must clean up. You close while sweetness still has a pulse. Say the one sentence that preserves what happened without inflating it, and go. The spark remains. People wake undepleted. Their courage is available before lunch. Their choices do not require rescue. This is not romance. It is reliability. Reliability is how sparks become power, and power becomes culture. Keep the ground clean. Drink water so patience has density. Breathe twice so your voice can carry truth without turning sharp. Move your body so feeling keeps traveling and never seizes the controls. Sleep so your edge stays a tool and not a weapon. Pray in plain words so appetite remembers it is a guest. Protect the absent from being redesigned by rumor. Let credit travel to hidden hands while there is still music. Repair while the bruise is pale. None of this will trend. All of it gives the current somewhere safe to go. And remember what 1 in a million really means. It is not that 1,000,000 people must look at you. It is that 1,000,000 moments can look like themselves when you are near. The spark you carry is not for display. It is for light. It is for warmth. It is for seeing the faces across from you as they are and letting them leave with more of themselves than they brought. When you can do that twice in the same day and still sleep, you will know the charge is grounded, the power is clean, and the rarity is real. Chosen one, attraction that must be announced is merely appetite with a microphone. The pull you carry now is quieter and older. It is the law written into tides and tree rings, the way rivers remember the sea without being told. You enter and trajectories curve a few degrees toward their better destinations. A man who is about to perform chooses to contribute instead. A woman who is bracing to be observed realizes she is safe to be seen. The hour ceases to audition for approval and begins to deliver what it was born to give. No trumpet, no spotlight, only the physics of a soul that has stopped leaking and started to hold. The unseen pull is not a trick of charisma, it is the yield of governance. You have taught your heat a language, and now it speaks fluently in the grammar of consent and timing and dignity. Your sexual energy does not press, it proposes. It does not requisition, it hosts. Bodies hear this before minds agree with it, and because they hear it, vigilance relaxes its grip. Color returns to voices, detail returns to stories. People remember that closeness can be clean when choice is honored, and that desire can be directional when it is disciplined. You did not lower the flame, you raised the room. You move like a person whose attention has weight, not heavy with demand, heavy with care. Your gaze returns what it sees instead of harvesting it. Your posture gives crowded paths a little more room without announcing its generosity. Your hands handle small things as if matter keeps minutes. The glass set down softly, the hinge asked, not forced to be quiet, the chair returned to where it belongs. These minor obediences become major policy. The room concludes without a speech that if objects can be spared bruises, then people can be too. Weeks later, far from you, someone ends a conversation at the right time, blesses what was good, and lets the next day arrive uninjured. They won't know they learned it from your weather. Your sentences have discovered proportion. You say what happened rather than who you are. You give conflict a table instead of a stage. You keep the exits called winning and sulking unromantic, and you keep the door called repair unlocked. In that climate, anger trades its parade for information. Information, placed precisely, becomes solvable. The unseen pull is this refusal to purchase drama with dignity. People do not feel pushed to you. They feel freed near you. And freedom is a magnet with better manners than urgency. There is a cadence to the way you let truth come. One heartbeat between another's last word and your first. One small breath before you add heat. One pause long enough for courage to find shoes instead of excuses. In that short liturgy, confessions arrive plain, boundaries arrive beautiful, and jokes remember their vocation is oxygen, not injury. You do not demand honesty, you make it affordable. You do not expose people, you illuminate the work. The pull increases because the price of being real decreases, and that economy is felt in nervous systems long before it is understood in sentences. The feminine tests and finds no trap in your admiration. The masculine looks for competition and finds a standard. The child inside adults, trained to flinch for attention, discovers it can be met without being rearranged. You are not salvaging people to decorate your myth. You are stewarding conditions where they can leave with more of themselves than they brought. This is why you are unforgettable without being consuming. Memory loves places where it did not have to heal afterward. Guard the well that keeps this current clean. Water before opinion, so patience has substance. Breath before reply, so tone stays human while truth stays whole. Movement before mood, so feeling keeps traveling and never seizes the controls. Rest before rescue, so help is not vanity. Prayer before performance, so appetite remembers it is a guest, not a king. Give credit while there is still music, so resentment has nothing to eat. Repair while the bruise is pale, so legend can't replace responsibility. None of this will pass for magic. All of it will pass into custom, which is the only magic that lasts. And when the night is finished, the unseen pull performs its last mercy. You end before sweetness becomes residue. You speak the one true sentence that keeps memory light. You close the door softly as if the house had nerves, and you let the morning arrive whole. The finest gravity is proven not at entrances but at departures, in what remains aligned when you are no longer there. If voices keep a livable volume, if boundaries stay beautiful, if laughter refuses to invoice a face, if work begins without a pep rally, then your pull did its work. The room became a place again. People became themselves again. That is attraction at its highest fidelity. Chosen one, poise is not a posture you hold. It is a covenant you keep with your own center. It is the choice to be arranged from the inside out so that weather cannot conscript you and praise cannot purchase you. This month, your poise has become a crown that needs no throne. You do not take up space to be large. You keep your shape so the space can be sane. The crowded anxieties of other people stop trying to live inside your lungs. Schedules that were sprinting for status learn to walk toward substance. You are not the loudest presence in the room. You are the one that makes volume unnecessary. Masculine poise begins where excuses end. In kept promises no one clapped for. You arrive when you said because you honored the minutes that made it possible. You end while tenderness still has breath because you love tomorrow enough not to steal from it. You carry your edge like a tool and refuse to sharpen it on other people. You let truth travel at a human pace, so relationship remains inhabitable after it lands. Under this governance, urgency retires from pretending to be importance, and clarity remembers that it can be kind. Your sexual energy, governed by this poise, ceases to be a campaign and becomes a climate. Heat is visible, human, unashamed, and under oath. A no remains elegant. A yes arrives paid in advance. A not yet is treated as timing rather than an obstacle to engineer around. The feminine reads this literacy at the speed of nerve and softens without becoming smaller. The masculine reads it as a standard and straightens without needing to harden. What people call alpha in you is not domination. It is stewardship that refuses to spend dignity as currency. Poise at its time and place with the smallest gestures. You hold the door like it remembers. You set a glass down as if the table could feel. You adjust your stance so that a narrow path widens. You give the floor back to the person who owns the story, even when a clever line volunteers to steal it. These are not niceties, they are mechanics of mercy. Matter learns from your hands, and people learn from matter. If objects can be handled without injury, so can disagreements. If doors can close gently, so can narratives. If chairs can return to their place, so can tempers and teams. Command, under poise, becomes quiet. You refuse to rent attention to panic. You decline the theater of confrontation and open the workshop of repair. The grammar is steady. This happened, this stops, this will be mended, this remains good. You correct without redesigning a person's worth. You praise while there is still music. You let credit travel before resentment grows teeth. You take responsibility before blame has to be assigned a badge. The culture thickens into fairness, and fairness is the only platform strong enough to hold excellence without cracking. Humility is poise's hidden engine. You remain teachable in rooms that would rather make you mythic. You narrate your choices to those who must carry the standard after you. Why this order? Why this boundary smiling? Why this apology while the bruise is pale? Why this ending while sweetness still breathes? You prefer succession to dependence, standards to followers, furniture to fireworks. A young man in the corner will copy what you model without telling you. Years later, he will end a meeting on time and protect the absent from rumor and think it was his idea. Smile. Poise loves anonymity because anonymity proves the practice is portable. Your humor is disciplined by the same crown. You refuse to purchase laughter with a human face. You aim at knots, not identities. 2 notches of pressure bleed out, no blood is on the floor. The shy risk one more sentence. The clever try a kinder one. The hour lifts in ways people can spend on children, on craft, on mercy with themselves. Entertainment can impress a room, relief can heal it. You prefer the medicine. Guard the sources that keep your body in covenant with your center. Water before opinion, so patience has weight. Breath before reply, so tone remains human while truth stays whole. Movement before mood, so feeling never seizes the controls. Sleep before rescue, so help is not vanity. Prayer before performance, so appetite remembers it is a guest. Touch sunlight. Name the hidden hands while there is still music. Repair while the bruise is pale. Leave while tenderness still has breath. None of this earns applause. All of it earns trust. And when the test comes, the one that arrives dressed as flattery or panic or the invitation to be spectacular, you will know poise is intact by what you decline. You will let urgency sit in the waiting room until facts arrive. You will let praise pass through you without setting up a house. You will let temptation find no handles because you have no need to turn a person into a problem or a prize. You will bless the boundary and the person standing behind it. You will choose sequence over spectacle again and again and again until the choice becomes the climate, and the climate becomes the custom. The crown of poise is measured at the door, not the dice. After you leave, do voices keep a livable volume? Do no's remain beautiful? Do yeses arrive paid? Do jokes refuse to invoice a face? Does credit still travel to hidden hands without a sheriff? Do doors close softly as if the building learned your manners? If the answer is mostly yes, then your presence has done what kings try to do with ceremonies and fail. It has made goodness repeatable without you. Walk on, chosen one, with a center that keeps its promises and a flame that keeps its house. Let your body remain a shelter and your word remain a tool. Let your strength stay a place people can stand without paying a tax. That is masculine poise, and it is rarer than thunder. Chosen one, power that hoards is merely hunger with better clothes. The power you carry now is circulation. You have stopped leaking and started giving, not by pouring yourself out in dramatic floods, but by becoming a steady river that knows its banks. When you enter, what is frantic remembers rhythm. What is dull remembers pulse. People misname it confidence, charisma, mystery. What it truly is stewardship, the willingness to host your own fire so thoroughly that others can warm their hands without getting burned. Your sexual energy used to arrive as weather, impressive and unpredictable. Now it lives as climate, generous on purpose, exact without cruelty, alive without appetite, pretending to be love. You gift this energy first through the way you handle attention. You do not spend it like confetti to look festive. You place it like light in a workshop where work becomes easier because the shadows are honest. Your gaze no longer requisitions, it returns. It tells the body across from you, nothing in you has to fight for oxygen here. Under such a look, self-consciousness loosens its grip, and the second sentence, the truer, softer, more expensive sentence, finds a path to daylight. This is how rooms begin to heal without speeches. People don't feel studied, they feel accompanied. They don't feel collected, they feel considered. You are one in a million not because a million eyes find you, but because a million moments find themselves in your presence. You have learned the law of measured warmth. Heat that proves itself becomes pressure, heat that knows itself becomes welcome. So you let desire remain visible and governed. You let timing be a friend rather than a puzzle to outsmart. You honor no as beautiful architecture, yes as prepaid promise, not yet as a season that cannot be bullied into bloom. The feminine reads this grammar at the speed of nerve and exhales her vigilance. Color returns to the room that armor had bleached. The masculine reads the same weather and retires the theater of status. Usefulness becomes fashionable again, and competence returns to the center like a dignified elder invited back to his seat. Energy becomes a gift when it learns sequence. You keep the order that makes repair possible and resentment unnecessary. Name what happened, decide what matters, assign what is yours, bless what remains good. Then move. The moving, done after the naming, turns force into authority and momentum into mercy. Drama, deprived of its subsidy, closes early. Work, finally funded, begins. In this order, you do not gather admirers, you multiply adults. The room stops looking for a hero and starts remembering its hands. You give through restraint as much as through action. You end the night while sweetness still has a pulse. You close the door softly as if the house had nerves. You choose the one honest sentence over a victory lap that invoices the morning. People wake with fewer refunds to issue to their conscience. Their kindness arrives earlier in the day. Their decisions no longer need emergency speeches to stand upright. There is no applause for this in public. There is gratitude for it in private, and gratitude is the only currency that grows interest in the soul. Your body carries the instructions your mouth doesn't have to repeat. You set a cup down as if the table could feel. You return a chair as if absence keeps minutes. You angle your stance so tight paths widen. You pass a plate as if ceramic holds memory. Matter learns your manners. People learn from matter. If objects are treated without injury, so are stories. If doors can close gently, so can narratives. If small things can be honored, the large things become possible. Weeks after you leave, someone will choose precision over spectacle and not know they learned it from your hands. You have a theology of humor now. You never purchase laughter with a face. You aim it at the knot, not the person tangled in it. 2 notches of pressure bleed out, but no one owes the room their dignity as payment. The shy risk a second sentence. The clever risk a kinder one. Laughter that preserves worth becomes a kind of oxygen. And in oxygen, people remember they were never broken, only breathless. This is what your energy gives when it is clean. Air to souls that were suffocating in performance. Guard the source with ordinary vows that do not sparkle and therefore survive. Give your patience weight with water before opinion. Keep your voice human by breathing twice before reply. Keep feelings from seizing the control room by moving your body until motion dissolves their tyranny. Keep your edge a tool and not a blade by sleeping in covenant with tomorrow. Keep appetite in the right chair with simple prayers that remind it is a guest, not a governor. Let credit travel while there is still music so justice eats and resentment starves. Repair while the bruise is pale so legend never replaces responsibility. None of this will trend. All of it will compound. The gift of your energy is proven most by what remains when you go. Do voices keep a livable volume? Do boundaries stay beautiful? Does a yes arrive paid and a no remain elegant? Do jokes refuse to invoice a face? Does the work begin without calling the crowd back for permission to be real? If the answer is yes, more often than not, your power has stopped being personality and started being culture. That is the dividend of a 1 in a million man who lives like a steward. The room doesn't need him to be better. The room learned how. Chosen one, attraction is not only a mirror saying you are seen. It is also a messenger asking, what will you do with being seen? This month, your magnetism is a classroom in discernment. Notice the approach of people as parables. Some come thirsty for your attention, some come hungry for your peace, some come curious about your story, some come to borrow your shine to backlight their own shadows. A few will be true companions, whose presence steadies your breath. Many will be brief visitors, witnesses who are meant to learn that holiness can wear a human face. Your task is not to sort them with suspicion, but to weigh them with wisdom. Hold each encounter up to the light and ask the quiet questions only your spirit can hear. Does this draw me toward the God I love, or toward a version of myself I have already outgrown? Does this attention expand my peace or require me to shrink to keep it? Does this interest honor consent, truth, and timing, or demand a discount on all three? You are not a marketplace. You are a garden. Not every hand belongs on the roses. Not every passerby needs a tour. Some simply need to know that such a garden is possible, and then keep walking with hope. Attraction, handled as assignment, becomes a multiplier of good. The same current that electrifies your body can power your craft, your prayer, your leadership, your intercession for those drawn to you. When a conversation clearly wants your body while despising your values, let your no be clean and your blessing be distant.